Thank you, Excellency, Mr. President, Mr. President of the General Assembly, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear youth. It's a great honor to stand here today at this largest, in fact, ECOSOC Youth Forum since we started this process a few years ago. It's heartwarming to see this forum growing and youth development and the youth sector gaining more recognition. The world certainly needs to realize the urgency of youth issues now more than ever. Mr. President, since I started working in youth development and over the past 10 years almost, I have seen how the world discovered the urgency of youth issues every time almost when we were hit by a crisis. And this came almost in 3 waves. Started almost 10 years ago with the economic crisis and the rocket high youth unemployment rates. The world back then seemed to have discovered youth for a while, but nothing much of a long-term nature was done to support them. And let's remember the legacy of that crisis. This generation is the first generation in history, the modern history, that will be poorer than their parents. The second wave came in 2011, when the world discovered youth with the Arab Spring and the youth-led protests around the world. These events made all world leaders question what they could do to support youth and some parts to contain youth. And the third wave came, and before that maybe I should mention that my own position as the Youth Envoy and this particular forum, the ECOSOC Youth Forum, came in response to that second wave. The UN has reacted, but sadly maybe many institutions have not listened enough. Many other member states have went back to business as usual sometimes, leaving half of the world's population as a footnote rather than the headline their policies. The third wave was even more severe this time. The radicalization and violent extremism that has intensified in the past 3 years made the world question again how to deal with youth. This wave was, and it has triggered, a global attention to youth issues that is truly unprecedented. Although these 3 waves, and were probably the most that came here to the United Nations and allowed the international system to react, but other important realities, demographic realities and development realities, also contributed to rediscovering this largest generation of young people. My hope is that we don't have to face another crisis before discovering the urgency of youth development to our world, because we have already seen what can happen when the realities of young people, their opportunities, and their challenges go ignored and disregarded. When youth are left out of the equation, the results speak for themselves. Their work slows, their potential suffers, and meanwhile, a generation of young people looks elsewhere. We often talk about leaving no one behind, but in reality, we should focus on not letting this young generation leaving all of us behind. The sea beneath the waves of youth energy keeps rising. We can either welcome, learn, embrace, and channel the energy of youth, or run the risk of being left behind by them. Today we convene, and we are mindful of the need for all of us to do more for youth. We convene to share our experiences and engage in a candid discussion with and for young people. Mr. President, in this spirit, allow me to share my own experience and in what I learned from working with young people. 4 years ago, I joined the United Nations in what will be the most exciting, challenging, and rewarding experience to serve the United Nations and the world's youth. I was appointed as the Secretary General's Envoy in Youth to be the first to serve in this position, and I was just 27 years old. At this age, usually you do internships at the UN. This week is my last week in this amazing chapter of my career before moving to another platform of service with the Scout movement. So in my 4 years, I have traveled to all corners of the world, amounting to over 130 visits. I have met with thousands and thousands of young people from all walks of life and all corners of this globe. My team and I have joined almost all major processes to bring the youth voices and priorities to the table. We work to support the UN system and member states to work with and for young people, bringing many new opportunities for engagement and participation. It has been an exceptional journey in all accounts, a journey that allowed me to see the centrality of youth to everything we do and everything the world should be doing. I have seen young people play a critical role in the creation of the new Sustainable Development Goals and in the calling for and the adoption of the historic agreement in Paris on climate change. The new development agenda, for example, we have almost 60 indicators measuring youth development directly in the Sustainable Development Goals. I've seen young people at the center of building a new peace and security agenda for the 21st century, moving the Security Council to adopt a historic resolution on youth, peace, and security. Security Council Resolution 2250 on youth, peace, and security was contributed to by the large youth peace-building movement and sponsored by the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, is already now used as a tool for young peace builders and their allies around the world. You have seen young people mobilizing around the core universal values of respect, equality, opportunity for everyone, showing solidarity for refugees in the Central African Republic, Lebanon, Somalia, Canada, Jordan, and many other places. I've seen young people working together to advance the human rights, starting movements together to demand social justice, advocating together for fair and equal treatment, binding together arm in arm for action in women's rights, and listening together to the realities of indigenous communities and people with disabilities. What I have learned from serving as the first envoy in youth cannot be easily summarized, but I'll try. I learned that governments are better off when they listen meaningfully to their youth. Countries develop when they embrace and invest in their youth talents. They also struggle when they fail them. States that fail their youth, in many cases, they end up to be failed states. I learned that institutions that are open to young people are among the most successful. The ones that are ageist in their approach are lagging behind. Think about it. Where in the world do we see progress today? In technology, young scientists, engineers, and entrepreneurs building tools and discovering breakthroughs that are changing the way we communicate. In media, young storytellers around the world are shining a light on places and people often forgotten. They are doing so with the power of purpose and their genuine ideas. In business, it's the new disruptive ideas and young innovators that change the landscape of entire industries. In social justice movements, who do we see leading today? Young people, together. All of this, Promise for Tomorrow, involves young people. I learned that engaging with and creating opportunities for youth is not a favor to young people. Embracing the talent and energy, the decency and compassion of youth is the biggest favor governments and institutions could do to themselves. They are not the future. I learned that, and now speaking directly to young people in this room, I learned that we make progress when we don't underestimate our power or the power of showing up. When our shared values are under attack, show up. When you want to influence political processes and elections, please don't sit at home, show up. When you see injustice, speak up. When you don't find opportunities, do your best to create them. Don't lose hope. Be the source of that hope. I learned that young people around the world are remarkably similar, but their situations are defined by their access to opportunities. I believe that inequality is the defining challenge of our generation, and the climate action is the foundation for our present and future. I have realized that we are the most connected generation in history, but we are also dealing with the most interconnected challenges in history. Our generation is the SDGs generation. Our collective success or failure will be defined by achieving Agenda 2030. And we cannot pass on regrets to the next generation. 14 years from now, we should get the job done. You know that, for those of you who know this movie, Back to the Future, in that movie, the future was 2015. The future is yesterday, in fact. Young people are not the future. Half of the world's population cannot be the future. They are here right now. It's rare when history presents us unique moments for us to take great leaps. I believe our generation is capable of taking that leap by uniting for development, peace, and human rights. This generation of young people deserves investments now to translate the world's demographic dividend into peace and development dividend. And I learned that the UN is as good as we invest in it. Looking around the UN, this youth forum has been growing year after year. More governments, organizations, youth are coming together with a sense of urgency. And this gives us all hope. We are a generation that uses shared platform for almost everything, from sharing stories and news to sharing resources and commutes. And ask you today to renew your resolve to investing in our shared value platform that is called the United Nations and the multilateral system. Despite all the challenges around us, despite all the skepticism facing our shared value platform, I stand today to tell you with all confidence, I'm more convinced in the UN's and the multilateral importance to peace and progress than ever before. Enshrined in the UN Charter more than 70 years ago, written from the ashes of war, the founders of the United Nations began the next chapter of shared human history with the words, we, the peoples. Crucial to this radical idea for humanity was the concept that we are stronger together than when we are alone, or when we are fighting each other or dehumanizing each other. As an institution, the UN is only as strong as the work and passion invested in it. I ask you to believe in our institutions and to never stop supporting them or even challenging them to deliver better. And lastly, I learned that you are not too young to run, and you are never too old or too experienced to learn from a young person. The seating in this room is structured in a way so a young person is seated next to a representative of a government, minister or ambassador. Take a moment to speak to the person next to you. Reach out to each other and extend a helping hand. This is what the forum is all about. And this is what this building is supposed to facilitate. It has been an honor serving youth at the United Nations and serving the United Nations to engage more with youth. We have achieved a lot, but we still have a long way to go. Let's stay united and determined to move forward and show our shared humanity in action together. Thank you very much.